you all. This is a level 1 flow class, and we're just going to connect body, mind, spirit as we do our thing. As always, listen to your own comfortable limitations, and we're going to go through just kind of a full spectrum yoga practice. We're going to start with a little bit of mindfulness, just centering. We'll get into some breathing, then we'll get into our poses. As always, does anybody have any requests for poses? Like anything is really itching to do in a yoga class? Feeling good? All right. One-handed handstands all day. It's fantastic. This is great. Any comfortable seated pose for you? I'm going to actually choose to sit up on a block in kind of a kneeling position, like so. And let me just make sure we've got this so it looks aight here. And let's just take a moment to sort of arrive. And by arriving, we did the hard part, I think, which is sort of get our butt to class, right? And then from here, let's see if we can kind of arrive emotionally, mentally. Take a deep breath in. Send it out your mouth here. Another deep breath in. This time, hold your breath for a second. And sigh. One more of these. Now, with your teeth very slightly separated, let your Ujjayi breath begin, in and out through the nostrils. Maybe set your thumb and first finger together or palms down on your knees or your lap. And I invite you to bring your attention to something so simple and singular, your breath, and be so direct with your breath that as you inhale, think the word inhale. And as you exhale, think the word exhale. There's a beautiful line in a Wendell Berry poem that says so succinctly, what we need is here. Right? So let's use our practice as a way of not looking outward for the answers or the solution, but rather looking inward and engaging with that inward landscape through postures, through breath, through mindfulness. And to that end, if you want to join me, let's put our palms together at our hearts, and you can listen or join in, but we're going to chant Om once. Let's inhale. Come back to the slow whisper breath. And as we bring our attention outward a little bit, maybe the sound of the birds, the sound of my voice in the room, the feeling of your breath. Let's get back into Ujjayi breath. And then before we move into our poses, I want to move into Kapalabhati, a breathing exercise. And the way I like to do this is set my thumb and first finger together with my palms down on my thighs, kind of upright through the trunk. And then we're going to give ourselves these short spurt exhales out the nostrils like this. Now I'm breathing in between every one of those breaths. I'm just focusing on the exhale part. And I'm going to count to 100 as we do these. And if you get a little lightheaded, go back to Ujjayi breath. Otherwise, let's do about 100 of these. Really get our energy to move this morning. Take a deep breath in. Go back to Ujjayi breath, or if it feels all right, breathe all the way out through your nostrils Hold your exhale and engage Uddiyana Bandha and Mula Bandha. So the floor of the pelvis contracts, lower abdominals pull up and in. Hold that held exhale for as long as you feel comfortable, and then move into your Ujjayi breath. When you feel ready to, move forward to a hands and knees pose and press up into a downward facing dog pose. In downward facing dog, put your right foot toenail side down, put a little teeny bit of pressure there on the top of your foot. Dorsal side, toenail side, pushes gently into the mat. A couple rounds of Ujjayi breath there. And then after 2 or 3 breaths, switch and do the other side. Left foot presses gently into the mat. One thing we can do here in Utah is hike, so there's a lot of hiking going on here. This is some of your hike muscles. And then place your feet back to the mat, feet together. And I kind of like what Denise is doing. Point your heels to the left, toes to the right. And as your heels drop all the way to the mat, pull your right hip back, pull your chin toward your collarbones a little bit, and give yourself a little stretch through the right side body. I kind of feel like my armpit is reaching to the floor, and my hip is pulling back, and I get this decadent stretch to the side body. Switch sides when you're ready. Long, full inhale and exhale. Excellent. When both sides feel equal, bring it back to neutral. Send your left leg up in the air and make 3 hip circles. So bend your right knee, open it to the sky. And then pull your knee toward your chest. Make 3 circles as the knee pulls into the chest, and then back up toward the sky. Make those circles. And then you're going to end up slowly with your left foot all the way forward between your hands and right knee to the mat in a kneeling lunge position. So here in kneeling lunge, I like right foot dorsal side down again, toenail side down, and just kind of hang out here with your chest leaning forward for a gentle stretch in the groin. And if you feel like you are open enough to appreciate a deeper version into full Anjaneyasana, be my guest. Otherwise, we're just kind of tapping into some of these body parts to let them kind of get enrolled in our process here. Deep Ujjayi breath. With your hands back to the mat, slide back into a downward facing dog pose. Connect with down dog for a second here. And then when you're ready to, raise your right leg in the air, so the other leg, whatever one that is. Right leg lifts in the air, bend your knee, open it to the sky, make 3 hip circles here. So knee to chest on the exhale, open back toward the sky, inhale. Yeah, beautiful. And after 3 of those, then step your left foot forward between hands and drop your right knee down to the mat. Good, a little stretch for the left groin. A tight groin is pretty pernicious, right? It really messes with the balance of your sacrum to hips. It shortens the front of your body, the front chain of your body, so the back gets really tight, right? So if we've been doing a lot of sitting, or, ironically, if we've been doing a lot of activity like hiking and things like that, all that tends to shorten this stuff. Okay, now in this moment, lean forward into your left foot, or right foot, whatever one's in front, and do a big step forward so that your feet come together into a comfortable standing forward fold pose. Now this might get deeper as we go along in our practice, but start off with a fairly easy, gentle stretch. Shake your head no and yes a few times to invite any tension in this part of your body to let go. And then what I want to do here is just start to warm up some of the other actions and muscles in the body. Let's start like this. Inhale, bend your knees quite a bit. Come to a high squat so that your butt is almost as low as your knees, or about as low. Then straighten up your legs again and fold forward, forehead in the direction of your shins. Inhale again, bend your knees and look forward. shoulder blades kind of pull together. Then straighten up again and fold forward as you move back and forth. Inhale, bend your knees, look forward. Perfect. Yeah, that's it. Fold forward on the exhale. Perfect. Keep going, and as you're doing this, remember that this pose has just as much potential for enlightenment, for waking up, as any other posture. All poses really just point to the same thing, which is different ways in which we can practice paying attention. Allowing your body to be a beautiful, sensual tool to wake up, to practice paying attention. Now, as you inhale, next time, open your arms like wings, stand up slowly as you reach toward the sky, and as you exhale, bring your hands together back to your heart. Step your feet together so the inside edge of your big toe knuckles touch. Heels are going to be slightly separated. With your hands to your heart, maybe you consider for a brief moment what your intention is for practice, the seed of your intention, your sankalpa. Let's kind of slow jam our way through some classical sun salutations, and then we'll kind of bring things up a notch in a moment. So, thumbs together, reach your hands straight forward, and inhale, do a little arch in your back. With an exhale, fold forward into Uttanasana, a forward fold position, round your spine. Then step your right foot back into a kneeling lunge position. Fingertips come to the floor, a gentle lean forward as you kind of let your heart be the driver to invite just a gentle stretch in the right groin. Then with your palms planted, slide your feet together in a down dog. A little bit different maybe than normal what we do. Inside edge of your big toe knuckles touch, but the heels are still slightly separated. Lift your heels high off the floor now, tuck your tailbone and roll into a plank pose. And then with an inhale, drop knees to the floor, chest and chin to the floor. On your next inhale, open your chest as you roll your shoulders back into cobra pose. Drop your shoulder blades down your spine. Then pushing through the knuckles of your hands, fingers press back into downward facing dog pose. Looking up into your hands, inhale, step your left foot between hands. Right knee touches the mat again into our kneeling lunge. And that big, dramatic step forward, bring your right foot forward to meet your left. Touch your thumbs as you swing your arms forward and up to the sky with a little arch in your back. And as you exhale, bring your hands parallel to the floor and back to your heart and back to your purpose for practicing today. Then forward and up again on the inhale as we commence the left side. Dive forward on your exhale. Step your left leg back into a kneeling lunge pose. Plant your palms, slide your feet back into downward facing dog. Lift up on your heels and roll into plank. Inhale, and then exhale, knees, chest, and chin to the mat. Cobra pose as you breathe in, and downward facing dog as you exhale. On an inhale, look up to hands, step your right foot forward between hands on the inhale. Lean into right foot. Give yourself a big step, left foot forward to meet the right. As your arms swing forward and up to the sky with a little arch in your back. And then arms parallel to the floor and back to heart. And let's put a little bit more, speed to this thing. Okay? Inhale forward and up to the sky. As you exhale, dive forward, Uttanasana. Big inhale, right foot steps back to kneeling lunge position. And then exhale, slide your left foot back into a downward facing dog pose. Beautiful, everyone. Roll forward into plank position, inhale. Exhale, knees, chest, chin to the mat. Then open up your heart, cobra pose. Exhale, lift back, downward facing dog pose. Step lefty forward between the hands, inhale. Right knee touches the mat again. Exhale, step your left foot forward to meet the right foot, or the back foot forward to meet the front foot, better said. Stand all the way up on the inhale, reach toward the sky, and exhale, hands together back to heart. Okay, so here goes the left side. Forward and up, inhale. Dive forward, exhale. Lead with the left, so left leg steps back to kneeling lunge. And then right foot follows, downward facing dog, feet together. Roll into plank pose, inhale. Exhale, knees, chest, chin to the mat. And then cobra pose, inhale, open up your heart, and downward facing dog on your exhale. Step your right foot forward to hands, inhale. Left foot follows, exhale. Stand all the way up, breathe in, reach toward the sky. And as you exhale, hands together, back to heart. Let's go one more time through both sides. Forward and up, inhale, little arch in your back. Exhale, dive forward. Step your right leg back to kneeling lunge, inhale. And then left foot to downward facing dog, exhale. Lovely. Roll forward to plank position, inhale. I love the grace through which you guys are doing these poses. Knees, chest, chin on the exhale. Cobra on the inhale, open up your chest. And then lift back, downward facing dog on the exhale. Step left foot forward on the inhale. Follow with righty. Good. Stand all the way up, inhale, reach toward the sky. And exhale, hands back to heart. Last time, last side, forward and up on the inhale. Reach up, dive forward, exhale. As left leg steps back to kneeling lunge, breathe in. Good. Right foot follows to downward facing dog, exhale. And roll to plank, inhale. Knees, chest, chin, exhale. Cobra, inhale. I love the breath. And downward facing dog, exhale. Right foot forward, inhale. Good. Left foot forward, exhale. Stand all the way up, breathe in. And hands to heart, exhale. Beautiful. Okay, pause here for a moment. Take a deep breath in. Send it out your mouth. Do that again, inhale. And then come in and out through the nostrils, go back to Ujjayi breath. And just take a moment and notice what's happened in the first couple moments of a yoga practice. Nothing is supposed to have happened, and yet nothing's not supposed to happen, right? And you're just tapping into the moment. Grateful for this morning, grateful for this body, grateful for the opportunity to be in a relatively small group of people where we get a chance to connect body, mind, spirit individually and collectively. So come into chair pose. When you're ready, bend your knees, open your arms, and if you got a lot of energy, you had too much coffee this morning, lift your heels up off the floor and squeeze your knees together. Place your palms together as you bend your elbows and point the elbows to the sky. Drop the knuckles of your thumbs behind the base of your skull. And then press your head back into your thumbs and open up your chest. And then we're just going to stay here for the rest of practice. Drop your hips a little bit lower. And then kind of like a karate chop, drop your heels, dive forward, end up all the way into a forward fold pose. So let's hang out here in a dedicated Uttanasana, standing forward fold, for a couple rounds of deep breath. Now, if you still want to kind of move a little bit into the Rajas side, the side of energy, lean forward under the balls of your feet, lift your heels again up off the floor, come up onto your fingertips, kind of cup your palms, and imagine like if you were like a Pilates queen and you could just kind of lift up into a finger lifted handstand. Not like maybe Bruce Lee could do that. Maybe you can do that, I don't know. But the point is we're just kind of rounding the spine, feeling that kind of lift through your core. Perfect. Drop your heels, drop the palms, step or float into your Chaturanga Dandasana. Whether you're hovering, whether you go all the way to the mat, then pull into Cobra or Up Dog and hold that pose. Gently turn your head side to side as you invite an ease through neck and shoulders. Keep the breath going. And slowly when you're ready, lift back up into a downward facing dog pose. Lovely. Okay, so 4 or 5 breaths in a down dog, rooted with your palms in the mat, comfortable with your feet pressing to the floor. And now you could choose whether we have our feet hip bone distance apart, which is kind of like we normally do in a down dog, or inside edge of big toes touch. I like to change it up once in a while just to get out of the force of habit. Nonetheless, it's whatever feels the best for you. So as you inhale, raise your right leg up in the air and put a pretty big bend of your left knee into your chest. So the left knee is bent, the right leg is straight. Left knee is bent enough that your left thigh almost touches your belly and your right leg is super, super straight. Now when you exhale, straighten up your left leg to pull your right knee to chest, hover and hold knee to chest. Maybe your forehead even comes to knee as you round your back. Keep your Ujjayi breath going and round your back as much as you can. Remember that feeling you had in like your, kind of arched version of a forward fold pose? We're kind of revisiting that form in just a little bit. Now go back to our three-legged dog. Left knee is bent, right leg is straight again. And with control, step knee to chest again as you step your right foot all the way forward between your hands. And then raise your arms toward the sky into Crescent Lunge position. Crescent Lunge here, like Warrior One, except for your heels off the floor. Beautiful. Take a deep breath in. Hold the pose as you give yourself a long exhale. In your mind, focus on the ball of your right big toe pressing straight down into the floor for groundedness and stability. Notice perhaps a natural propensity for your front leg to kind of wobble a little bit. The external hip rotator, namely the piriformis, that muscle we stretch in pigeon pose, that's when it gets weak or tight. That muscle helps us or makes it so we don't stabilize as well. So that's the stabilizing muscle. Okay? Now bring your hands behind you, interlace the fingers, drop your knuckles toward the floor, and bend your left knee so it almost touches the ground. And you're going to hold here for as long as you love it, and when you stop loving the pose, then bring your knee all the way to the floor for a groin stretch. So we're building quads, we're building piriformis, we're building the glute med, that's the gluteus medius, also a stabilizing muscle up in the hip. Okay, and then once you've kind of had your run with that, then put your back foot toenail side down again, reach your knuckles to the floor, lift your heart open to the sky, nice full deep breath in. Feels good to be alive. And with an exhale, drop your hands to the mat, slide back into a downward facing dog pose, or move through a vinyasa. Beautiful work. So raise your left leg in the air. Put a little bend in your right knee, maybe a big bend in the right knee so that your right thigh bone moves toward rib cage. Now, though the left leg is in the air and is vying for all of the attention because it's up there, it's really the right leg that's the important leg because that's our ground, it's our foundation. So when you exhale, straighten the right leg, pull left knee to chest, round your spine, pull your forehead almost into your knee, maybe forehead can actually touch your knee, and push your hands into the floor. Really arch through your shoulder blades and through your back so you really find that core connection. Excellent, excellent work. Last breath here. Bring left leg in the air. You're done with it. I can feel it. Step the left foot all the way forward between your hands. Raise your arms toward the sky now for Crescent Lunge position. Slight lift in the pubic bone. Good. Bring your hands behind you, interlace the fingers, and bend your right knee so it almost comes down to the floor. Fantastic. Now, borrow some muscles from the inner thigh. Squeeze as if to pull your legs together. This is also borrows some muscles from the quads and the hamstrings. Squeeze as if they're trying to pull together toward the middle line of your mat. When you've just had enough of this pose, drop your right knee all the way to the mat, and then do a little lift in the groin for now pubic groin stretch, the psoas stretch. Still opening up your chest. Go one more deep inhale. And on the exhale, drop your hands to the floor as you slide back into a downward facing dog pose. Optional vinyasa. Really strong, everyone. Really beautiful poses. Now again on your inhale, raise your right leg in the air, bend your right knee, open it toward the ceiling. As you exhale, pull your knee to your chest again, maybe forehead to knee, briefly. I've only had one person ever give themselves a bloody nose doing this. Raise your right leg back up in the air. Inhale, open knees to the sky. Now step your right foot to the outside of left pinky fingers for fallen triangle pose. So it comes under, drop to the outside edge of your right foot, drop to the inside edge of your left foot, and send your left arm to the sky as you open up into fallen triangle. as if there were a cord on your navel, lifting your midsection and pelvis up toward the ceiling. Beautiful, beautiful poses. Hand to the floor, step back to three-legged down dog. So righty comes all the way up in the air, and then step your right foot forward between the hands as you raise both arms up in the sky for Crescent Lunge. Good. As you exhale, bring your hands to heart and twist left elbow to the outside of right thigh. Perfect. As your right hand pushes down into the left, use that as the lever to pull your right shoulder back, shoulder blade to spine. And what I'm noticing here that I love is how straight and strong your back leg is. That's the rudder, right? Take a look at your front toes, make sure they're pointing straight forward. Reach your arms back to the sky on an inhale, and exhale, drop hands to the floor as you slide back to down dog or move through a vinyasa. Yeah, love it. Beautiful. Lefty lifts in the air on the inhale, knee bends as you open up toward the ceiling. Exhale, knee to chest. Inhale, reach it back up toward the sky. Maybe the knee opens it up again if you wish. And then step your left foot to the outside of your right hand to fallen triangle pose. Drop to the inside edge of your back foot, that is to say righty, as your right arm reaches up toward the ceiling, and lift from your navel, lift from pubic bone, open up your chest to the sky. Eventually place your right palm back to the mat, slide your left leg back up into the air for a three-legged dog. On your way back again to Crescent Lunge. So lefty's going to step forward between the hands, arms to the sky, inhale. As you exhale, reconnect with your sankalpa, your intention, as you move your way over to the other side here for twisting Crescent Lunge. We're set up in the beautiful sort of meeting space of a fantastic coffee shop, and not a few people come to the door hoping for a really good cup of coffee and see it locked and see people in here doing yoga. It's a crazy thing. Arms to the sky, big breath in. Hands to the floor on the exhale as you step back into down dog or move through your vinyasa. Right leg lifts in the air, knee bends as you open to the sky. Exhale, knee to chest. Inhale again, right leg lifts in the air. Fallen triangle for a hot second. Right foot to the outside of your pinky finger, up to the sky. Come back to your three-legged dog. This time, touch right knee to right elbow and hold that as version 1. Or bend the elbows, version 2, or move full into Kundinasana, stick pose, if you wish to turn this into an arm balance. Eventually, we're going to make our way back to a three-legged dog. Step your right foot forward between the hands. Crescent lunge, big breath in. Hands to heart as you exhale, twist to your right. This time, take a look at your right big toe and lean forward enough that your left foot floats in the air, and in slow motion steps forward into a twisting chair pose. Yeah. Now open your right arm toward the ceiling and left arm toward the floor. Pick up your right heel as you hold the outside of your right foot with your left hand. And you're going to stand up on your left leg only. I know I'm asking a lot. Come all the way up, knees bent, as you begin to slow motion straighten your right leg and look back to your right hand. Slowly reverse this. So place your right foot back to the floor. Come back into our twisted chair pose for a moment. Pick up your left foot and slowly step it back into your twisting crescent lunge. Arms come back into the air for full crescent lunge. On your way back, hands to the floor into a downward facing dog pose or move through a vinyasa. Nicely done, everybody. Yeah, love it. Okay, we're going to take a break after this side. Stay strong. Left leg lifts in the air. Inhale, right knee is a little bit bent. Exhale, left knee to chest. Inhale, lefty lifts, righty bends. Exhale, left foot to right pinky finger. Fallen triangle. Just for a hot second. Then bring it back, three-legged dog. Now left knee to left elbow and hold that pose, or bend the elbows, or turn it into full-on Kundinasana, stick pose. Back to three-legged dog. Inhale, take it forward on the exhale as you move up into Crescent Lunge position. Hands to heart as you twist left elbow to the outside of your right thigh. Look down to your left big toe, and in slow motion, pick up your right foot, float it in the air in this sort of awkward, slow motion step forward into a twisting chair position. Awesome. Look back down to the floor. You're looking at your left foot as you lift your left heel off the ground. Open your arms, so left arm reaches to the sky. Right hand holds the outside of left foot as you stand all the way up. Think about your right foot that's on the floor. And then begin to slow motion straighten your left leg, looking back at your left fingers, perhaps. So let's reverse this. Bend your left knee a little bit, look forward, slow motion, come back into your twisting chair position. Pick up your right foot in slow motion, step right foot back to twisting Crescent Lunge position. Arms reach back to the sky, full-on Crescent Lunge. As you exhale, drop your hands back to the floor and step it back to your down dog or move through a vinyasa. Woo! Nice! The way you're moving is like, oh, is that all you got for me? Come on, let's step it up a little bit. Okay, chillax. If that's in a down dog, great. If that is a cat-cow position or child's pose or whatever you got, keep your deep breath moving and just give yourself a moment to relax. Really, really well done, everybody. The other good thing about doing this is that, and having it filmed at the same time too, if you really love the class, you can always go back and do the same class. Just go back to the Facebook page and think, oh, I want to do that sequence again. All right, so when you're ready, come back to a down dog. If you're not there already, we're going to take, it's going to be a standing sequence, but it's going to be relaxing. So step your right foot forward between hands, and then walk your hands to the left so you end up in a wide-legged forward fold position. And just enjoy a nice wide leg stretch here as the crown of your head moves in the direction of the floor. You might choose to have a little bend in your knees, or your legs can be straight. Long, full inhales and exhales. Now in this pose, bend your left knee a little bit and find a stretch through the inside of your right thigh. Take your time, Denise. If it serves you, pivot on your right heel into Skandasana B, so you get the hamstring afforded by your external rotation of your right thigh. Good. Really good, everyone. Beautiful work. Nice open hips on all of you. That's great. And I'm noticing how well your left heel stays on the ground. That's excellent. Walk your hands gently over to the other side. Switch directions, Skandasana. So again, you've got a bend in your right leg, and the left leg is straight, and either stay there or pivot on your right heel as your toes move toward the sky. Good. Now, your right buttock moves in the direction of your right heel, though we're not attached necessarily going all the way down. Nonetheless, feel into whatever your hips are allowing you to do. Very nice. Straighten your right leg slowly. Come back to a wide-legged forward fold. Keep your legs straight now as you walk your hands to the left. Reach your left hand around your calf. Okay, so left leg is straight this time as your right arm reaches in the direction of your left toes. Good. Feel as if your right hip were pulling back at the same time your right armpit were kind of pulling in the direction of your left toes. Yeah, good. Switch sides, so hands walk to your right, and I'll bring my right hand around to the outside of my calf and then behind the calf as your left arm reaches in the direction of the toes. Deep breath. Now, your left hip is going to want to pull forward toward the armpit to kind of facilitate the movement, and you're trying to oppose the movement to maximize the stretch to the left side. So imagine that your left hip bone were magnetized to the wall behind you. With that as a stable base, your armpit is doing the reaching to stretch down through these intercostal muscles between the ribs, the lats that connect, armpit to hip bone, etc. Good. Bring it back to neutral. And then I invite you to walk your hands back to the front of your yoga mat. Step your left foot forward now for Paschimottanasana. So now, changing plane. So you're in this forward plane. Left heel roots down into the floor. Forehead is moving in the direction of your shin. Hips are more or less squared. Spread your toes on the right side and push down through the ball of your foot. Feel your tailbone kind of rounding toward the floor. Beautiful. The pose is alive, it's organic, it is changing breath by breath, right? So tune in regularly to feel into the new information that's coming through. Now, remember, sometimes progress means backing off the pose or changing poses, right? Progress isn't always so linear. The next time you exhale, put your left hand to the outside of right foot. Put your right hand to your hip and kind of push as if to push your right hip back to the back of the room. Feel this long axis from tailbone to the crown of your head. Now point your elbow to the wall behind you as the driver to open up your chest. And when it feels right, then raise your right arm to the sky, twisting triangle pose. Gaze down to keep your balance sure and your neck easy, or gaze up in order to lift your energy. You could also put your right hand back to the hip to neutralize your shoulder, or place your right palm on your sacrum. Now, hold the pose, drive your left heel, the back heel, down into the mat for stability. Yeah, everyone, beautiful. And then both hands come back to the mat. And we're going to essentially do a walk around to the back side of the mat. So walk your hands all the way to your left, and you're just going to point your toes now so you're facing backward on your yoga mat. Left toes pointing forward. You might even step your right foot to the right a little bit. Now, what I like to do in this pose, I take the stretch out of the pose and kind of lean the chest forward, pull the pubic bone back, get this nice long lever of the posture from hip bones through sternum, through collarbones, and then start to lean forward into the posture for Paschimottanasana, pyramid pose. Now imagine you could control just the left hip pulling forward gently and down toward the floor. Yeah, I see it working, everybody. It's perfect. Unlock your left knee, just a micro bend, micro bend in the knee so your quads are fired. And as you exhale, respond to what your body's giving you. Go maybe a little bit deeper into the pose. Head is nice and relaxed. Head is nice and relaxed. And again, for everybody who's watching at home, you just have to listen. This is a nice opportunity anyway, just to tune into the feeling of your body. I'm not demonstrating poses as much, paying more attention to those who are here in a live class. Okay, last breath here. As you go a little bit deeper in the pose, put your right hand to the outside of your left foot. Put your left hand to hip and pause here. Lean your sternum forward, pull your pubic bone back, and find that lengthening through your trunk. You created the axis around which you're going to twist, your left shoulder being the driver, facilitated by your elbow. So elbow points back, opens your trunk. Then if it serves you, nice Shelly, lefty is going to reach up to the sky. Yeah, Denise, perfect. Yeah, and draw your right heel strongly down into the floor. Remember, that's your rudder. Right? That's going to keep your balance. Deep, fat inhale. Long exhale. We got one more breath. These poses are stellar, everybody. As you exhale, drop your hands to the mat, walk to the middle back into our wide-legged forward fold Paschimottanasana. Now in this pose, what you're going to do, keep your legs nice and wide, but walk your hands forward. So essentially we're going to turn into a wide-legged version of downward facing dog. Walk your hands as far forward as you can. Plant your palms to the floor and then pull your hips back again. Yeah. And drop your ears beneath your triceps. Beautiful, beautiful work. You know what blues face is? Blues faces are like when the music is so good, it like puts that like grimace on your face, like something stinks. It's so good, right? That's what we want in every one of our yoga poses. We want like blues face to like just spontaneously come across our whole countenance. Okay, so when you're ready, walk your hands back toward your feet, and I'm going to give a couple of moments for improv yoga as we explore some inversions, right? So if you want to do a headstand, and you feel very comfortable in this wide leg approach to move up into a tripod headstand or a forearm press headstand, be my guest. If you'd like to switch and maybe move forward to do a couple of kick-ups into a handstand practice, you're welcome to try that. If you want to do something a little more gentle, like a shoulder stand, or even you could lie flat on your back with your legs in the air in sort of an improvised version of Viparita Karani or legs up the wall pose. Okay, whichever version of inversion you're doing, make sure that you keep your breath as an integral part of the posture. Give a couple of moments, take a break, and then try it again whenever you're ready. You know, I had, in the early days of my yoga practicing, one of my teachers said something that has always stuck with me, which is like, it's not whether or not you can do the pose, right? It's whether or not, it's how you feel in the pose today, right? And there are some moments, like even when I'm teaching poses and I'm trying to demonstrate, my body's like, yeah, you can do the pose, but you got no business being in the pose today. You know, like you've done like zero warm up, zero prep. You haven't done the pose for like a month, right? So like, pump the brakes, right? And that's fine, that's fine. So again, it's not whether or not you can do the pose, but how you feel while you're in there. If you've got another inversion, go for it. Otherwise, if you want to counter pose, I might suggest bridge pose as a really great counter to any inversion that you just did. Perfect counter for shoulder stand, for headstand, handstand, whatever you got. So if you've got another inversion, great. Otherwise, we'll meet in bridge pose in a few moments. Take your time getting to bridge, and whenever you do get there, arrange so that your feet are roughly hip bone distance apart, kind of in line with the bony part of your butt. So the outside of your hips are anatomically, that's actually the outermost part of your leg bones. And so the hip bones are a little bit different, and the best way to gauge those is if you were to reach around, feel through the fleshy part of your glutes to the bony part. That's the pointy part of your butt. That's kind of what we're lining our heel bones with. Okay, so when you're ready to, after bridge pose, come back down to lying on your back, move into a happy baby as you pull your thigh bones toward your ribs. Either hold the backs of your legs or the outside edge of your feet as you draw your tailbone down into the floor and shoulder blades in the floor. And we're going to do a little exercise here. As you breathe in, feel as if your breath can move all the way down into the floor of pelvis, into Muladhara chakra. Exhale, contract Mula Bandha, and feel as if your breath is moving up and out through the crown of your head like a blowhole. Inhale into the floor of the pelvis. Exhale, contract, and feel your breath move out the crown of your head. In and out like this, you're stimulating the Sushumna Nadi, the main vein energy channel through the whole body, around which Ida Pingala, these other nadis, move in this serpentine fashion to create these chakras in the body, moving all the way up. We're just stimulating that whole channel, moving up and down. Okay, let's move back into bridge pose. So feet back to the floor, about hip bone distance apart. Kind of feel where the bony part of your butt is, and then put your heels in line with that. Now, before you lift, walk your shoulder blades together. Bring your elbows close to your rib cage. Make robot arms, like right angles, and pull your triceps, elbows into the mat. Now lift your hips up in the air. When you pull your elbows down, you fire the middle trapezius muscle. This is the middle back muscles, right? Middle rhomboids, right? Lift your hips up if they're not already. And if you want, after you've engaged middle back, you stretch your pectorals, interlace your fingers, and then begin to straighten your arms. So anatomy, you have agonist and antagonist muscles. So the opposite of your chest muscles, opposite of the pectorals, are the rhomboids and middle trapezius, right? So they contract in order to stretch your chest. You draw your elbows to the floor and then straighten your arms. You're actively contracting one side to actively stretch the other. Okay, release this thing, lower down slowly from middle back, lower back, and then come back into our happy baby contraption thing with holding on the outside of your legs or behind the thighs. And again, you're inhaling into the floor of the pelvis. Exhale, contract Mula Bandha. Feel your breath move up and out the crown of your head. Inhale into the floor of the pelvis, etc. And one thing I failed to mention, I'm going to encourage you to also stick the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth and keep your jaw nice and soft. It's an internal mudra, right, that connects a chain of top to bottom. Good. Now, when the energy is flowing, the poses feel pretty, almost effortless, right? And with the energy flowing, we're going to either move to our bridge pose, take 3, or this time around, we'll move into Urdhva Dhanurasana or full back bend, depending on what your body wants, okay? So let's set up in the same way. Feet about hip bone distance apart. Bring your hands to your side. Make robot arms with your elbows and pull elbows to the floor. So even before you bring your hips up, your upper back is engaged. Start off in bridge. Perfect, Denise, yeah. And then you can either stay in bridge, interlace your fingers, or prepare for wheel as you bring your hands up by the shoulders. Now, I like to turn the palms so the wrists sort of face in towards your temples. Nice, Shelley. Perfect, Jennifer. And then I'll lift up into full Urdhva Dhanurasana, okay? Now, if bridge is exactly what your body's asking for today, it's like, yeah, I can do wheel, but I got no business doing wheel, then stay with bridge, right? And if your body's like, nothing has ever felt so amazing as wheel pose, then of course do it. When you feel the love leave this pose, whichever one you're in, ease you out of the pose and relax. Maybe with a kind of a bear hug as you pull your knees into your chest, or just rest flat on your back with your knees bent. Keep your deep breath moving in and out through the nostrils. When you've had a moment to rest on the floor, then lift your feet up off the ground and just make slow motion circles in the air, massaging your back and the floor. For those of us here in live classes, we should really bring like 2 yoga mats because this concrete floor is a little bit, it's not like our nice cork floors that we had in the studio. Nonetheless, grateful to have it. But in some ways, it's a great blessing to have such a hard surface. It gives a great massage for the space under the sacrum. There's a whole switch plate of nerves called the Sacral Plexus. It's kind of where all the nerves come down from the spine and then exit through the around the SI joint to move down the back of the legs. And we get this nice little massage of all that stuff. Moving through the glutes, massage through those, some of the largest muscles in our entire body. Massage through some of those, break up any tension. And then we're going to move either to a figure 4 stretch, sort of the supine version of pigeon pose, or if you prefer a deeper version, Supta Gomukhasana, supine cow face pose. So for the figure 4, just cross right ankle over left thigh, interlace your hands behind your thigh, and then pull your left knee toward your chest for hopefully something that feels like just the most appropriate, delicious stretch ever. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, then cross right thigh over left so the knees are crossed and you're holding to the outside edge of your feet in Gomukhasana. Either way, I invite you to simply observe what you're experiencing here. Keep jaw nice and soft, keep your breath slow and flowing. And then respond to the pose in any way that feels right. As you're gaining information, respond to the pose by taking deeper breath, going a little bit deeper into the posture or backing off the pose to really refine exactly what the pose is asking of you in the moment. Take one more deep breath in. Send it out your mouth. Release. Lie down flat on the floor for a moment. Take a big, like Saturday morning stretch. Arms overhead, legs long. Just take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, pull your knees into your chest. Give yourself another bear hug again and feel your back kind of settle into the floor. And then when you're ready, let's try the other side. So left ankle over right thigh for figure 4 stretch. Or Supta Gomukhasana if you want to cross left thigh over right. Soften jaw so you're not accumulating more tension. I have a habit of clenching my jaw when something gets tight, so it's like an unconscious reactivity to stress. And if my body's kind of figuring out what to do with the tension in my hip, I don't know what to do with it, so I just clench my jaw. And that's just sort of displacing tension from one part of the body to another, right? Rather, with mindfulness, what we can do is through our breath, through just the perfect level of effort and ease, we flip the switch on tension from a low vibe energy, because tension is just energy, and we just flip the switch from low vibe to high vibe. We switch it from low vibe tension to high vibe vitality. We just change the color on it. So facilitate that coloring of the energy in your hip with a slow, deep inhale, putting vitality into those areas. Long, slow exhale as if to provide an avenue for that tension to go or to change. Yeah, and if that serves you, right, I see some of you doing this, the exhale at the mouth. Very good. Okay, so when this side feels balanced with the other, arms come back overhead, legs long again. That Saturday morning stretch, big, big reach. And then again, pull your knees back into chest for a little rock side to side, feeling into back, feeling into sacrum. Now I invite you to roll up to a seated pose when you're ready. And in a seated pose, I want to take a seated forward fold, Paschimottanasana. So maybe even pull the flesh out from underneath the sitting bones. Root the backs of your thighs into the floor as you sit up nice and straight. Reach your arms perhaps up toward the ceiling for a moment. And then as you exhale, lean forward as you reach in the direction toward your toes. Find something that is sustainable. If that means bending your knees a little bit, if that means holding on merely to calves or shins, there's no accomplishment in any of the postures. I did not invite the photographers of Yoga Journal magazine to class today, so nobody has to worry about their poses being plastered on a billboard somewhere. As always, there's a little bit of improvisational invitation here to kind of move and shift and sway in the way that just feels perfect for what's going on for you. Let's give ourselves one more breath here. As you release this, bring it back behind you, bring your shoulders around, and as you open up your chest, and we're going to counterpose either which is the seated version of this pose, or a tabletop version of this pose, or full-on canal pose or Purvottanasana, eastward facing stretch. So long as your chest doesn't collapse in this pose, think of shoulder blades pulling together and the heart opening up to counter what was happening in the upper back. Good. When this side feels balanced, had a good counter pose, bring it back to the floor. Let's set the soles of the feet together with the knees wide into Baddha Konasana. Sit up nice and tall. If you have one available, sometimes it's nice to sit up on something, particularly if your hips are a little bit tight. And if you are sitting up on something, sit toward the front edge of it so the pubic bone can kind of drop down a little. Some yodeling or just oming happening out in the wild, which is wonderful. Spontaneous om at will. All right, ease you out of this thing. And our next stop is Shavasana. So anything your body feels like it needs to do on its way to Shavasana, be my guest. I might suggest if you're ready for Shavasana right now, just bring your feet about as wide as your mat. Point your fingers toward your toes and just do a gentle sort of descent down into Shavasana. It would probably be against COVID regulations, but we should just put like a self-serve coffee like dispenser out there for all the people who come by looking for coffee. I must have counted like 10 people just since we've been doing yoga. So we've had a great practice, everybody. It's been wonderfully dynamic. We've really gone through a lot of different actions from balancing, leg work. We've done a little bit of core work, a few arm balances, inversions, back bends, right? Strengthening poses, balancing poses, stretching poses, really kind of taking the full gamut. Now let's exit the doing part and let's enter the listening part, or just the being part. Where you take a moment and just feel into how alive your body is in this moment. Tap into the way your energy feels. See if you can notice any particular part of your body that feels alive. And then if you could relax just a little bit more, do whatever you need to do to relax just a little bit more. Open up to the sound of the birds, feeling in your body. Notice your breath without any effort to breathe. And then as a way of sort of heightening our awareness through our senses, I'm going to play a little music, and I would invite you just to listen to the music for listening's sake. Wonderful acoustics in this room. So take a moment and notice how your body's feeling here at the end of our practice. Notice what's going on in mind and heart here at the end of our practice. And begin to respond to all of this goodness with a deeper inhale through the nostrils, a little movement through fingers and through toes. Take your time as you roll over to one side and come upright to a seated position. Ease upright when you're ready. And then arms can open as we lift our hands toward the ceiling. Nice full big breath in. And exhale, hands again back to heart. And let's finish with an Om. You're welcome to listen or join in. Really, really beautiful practice, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, whether you're live on Facebook or whether you're live in person. Namaste.